We'll call the meeting to order, and we will begin by the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation by Councilman Gilbert.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hit your button. Go ahead.
Today, I have our youth pastor from Venue, Mr. Savage, to come and say a prayer.
Let us pray. The great and awesome God that you are awesome, you are great, but Lord, you are gracious. But I pray for all of us tonight that may hope may rise up in our hearts today, that peace may rise up in our city today. May we be the change that people need to see in our city, in our governments, in our schools, but God, in our families. And Lord, I thank you for what you're doing in our city. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Good, sir. Thank you. All right. Have a motion on the minutes? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed is nay. Thank you. We have no special presentation, so Madam Clerk, let's move into ordinances. Final read, please. 5A.
An ordinance in Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38, zoning ordinance, so as to rezone properties located at 109 Hartman Street and 205 and 207 Forest Avenue, more particularly described herein from R3 residential zone and R4 special zone to ERM3 urban edge residential multi-unit zone, maximum height 3 stories, subject to certain conditions.
Councilman Mitchell.
Move approval.
All right. Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. B, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38, zoning ordinance, so as to rezone properties located at 8206 and 8210 Appleton Pike and part of 4978 Patsy Place, more particularly described herein from C2 Convenience Commercial Zone to UGC Urban General Commercial Zone, subject to certain conditions.
Councilman Henderson.
In Councilman Ledford's absence, I move for approval.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed is nay. Thank you. C, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38, zoning ordinance, so as to rezone properties located in the 2100 block of East Main Street, more particularly described herein from C2 Convenience Commercial Zone to UGC Urban General Commercial Zone, subject to certain conditions.
Councilman Byrd. Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed is nay. D, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38, zoning ordinance, Article 2, definitions by adding a definition for fraternal, professional, or hobby clubs, and to amend Article 8, Board of Zoning Appeals for variances and special permits, Section 38-568, powers, etc., board hearings, by adding site plan requirements for fraternal, for professional, or hobby clubs.
Councilman Henderson.
This did pass on first reading. I move approval.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed is nay. Thank you. E, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38, zoning ordinance, Article 4, height and area exceptions and other special permits, Division 1, height and area exceptions, Section 38-510, access to commercial, industrial, or other non-residentially zoned property to the R3 residential zone or R4 special zone, that if developed with non-residential uses, the R3 residential zone and R4 special zone will be considered a non-residential zone for purposes of access only.
Councilman Henderson.
Move approval.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed is nay. Thank you. F, please.
An ordinance closing and abandoning a sewer easement located in the 700 block of Ashland Terrace as detailed on the attached map, subject to certain conditions.
Councilman Mitchell.
Move approval.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed is nay. Thank you. G, please.
An ordinance closing and abandoning a sewer easement located in the 4400 block of Oakwood Drive as detailed on the attached map, subject to certain conditions.
Councilman Gilbert. motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. H, please.
An ordinance closing and abandoning a sewer easement located at 801 and 553 Riverfront Parkway as detailed on the attached map, subject to certain conditions.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. I, please.
An ordinance closing and abandoning a sewer easement located at 5530 Tennessee Avenue and 525 McGrath Street as detailed on the attached map, subject to certain conditions.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. J, please.
An ordinance closing and abandoning a 5-foot portion of a sewer easement located in the 800 block of Douglas Street as detailed on the attached map, subject to certain conditions.
Councilman Byrd. All right. Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. All right, Madam Clerk, that takes us to ordinances on first read. Let's go with 6A, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 2, relative to the Fire and Police Pension Fund.
All right, Councilman Mitchell.
Move approval.
All right, motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. Thank you. Let's go to planning B, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38, zoning ordinance, so as to rezone properties located at 405 and 407 West 47th Street, more particularly described herein from R3 residential zone to R4 special zone, subject to certain conditions.
Councilman Oglesby.
Mr. Chair, I spoke with the applicant last week, and he has elected to withdraw, so I move to withdraw.
Thank you, sir. Have a motion and a second for withdrawal. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. Thank you. Let's move down to C, please.
An ordinance closing and abandoning a portion of the 5900 block of Hancock Road to allow for continued development of the Chattanooga Metropolitan Airport as detailed on the attached map, subject to certain conditions.
All right, Councilman Gilbert. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. Thank you. 7A.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a birthing agreement in substantially the form attached with Rayner Group LLC for the birthing of a floating restaurant with river excursion vessel on the city's waterfront for an initial term of 10 years commencing on January 1, 2019, with the option to renew for 2 additional terms of 5 years each at a fee schedule as set forth in the birthing agreement.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. B, please.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a premises use agreement in substantially the form attached with Chattanooga Rugby Club, Inc. for the use of a portion of Montague Fields located at 1151 East 23rd Street, identified as a portion of tax map number 156 AD 001 for a term of 3 months with no renewal options for the amount of $1 per term.
Councilman Byrd. All right, have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. C, please.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Economic and Community Development to retroactively execute a renewal agreement with Chattanooga Neighborhood Enterprise, Inc. for loan portfolio management services between July 31st, 2017 through June 30, 2018.
It's a pleasure of the council. Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. D, please.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Economic and Community Development to execute a renewal agreement with Chattanooga Neighborhood Enterprise, Inc. for loan portfolio management services between July 1, 2018 through June 30, 2019.
All right, Councilman Henderson.
Move for approval.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. Thank you, sir. E, please.
A resolution to make certain findings relating to the Patton Towers renovation project, to delegate certain authority to the Health, Educational, and Housing Facility Board, and to authorize the mayor to enter into and execute an agreement for payments in lieu of ad valorem taxes for a tax abatement period of 25 years for each of the years 2020 through 2044.
All right, Councilman Oglesby, followed by Councilman Byrd.
Move to approve.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. F, please.
A resolution authorizing the city finance officer to execute a trust agreement relative to the Chattanooga Fire and Police Pension Fund.
Councilman Henderson.
Move for approval, and, Mr. Attorney, I think we want the alternate version? Yes, sir. Yep. Alternate version 1.
I've got a motion and a second. Alternate version. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. Thank you. G, please.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a first agreement to exercise option to renew with Diagnostic Radiology Consultants, PA, in substantially the form attached to lease 173 square feet for the X-ray examination area at the City of Chattanooga Well Advantage Center, and further authorizing the mayor to retroactively enter into a professional services agreement with Diagnostic Radiology Consultants, PA.
Councilman Byrd. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. H, please.
A resolution authorizing the Chief Human Resources Officer to enter into a contract with Collins and Company, Inc. to provide third-party administrative services for the city's job injury program for a one-year term, plus 2 additional one-year renewal options at the rate of $6,800 per month, including the payment of the city's job injury claims for an annual total amount not to exceed $3 million.
Councilman Gilbert. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. Thank you. I, please.
A resolution authorizing the Chattanooga-Hamilton County Regional Planning Agency to develop recommendations for an ordinance and other zoning tools that would provide development standards that address development activity in environmentally sensitive areas such as steep hillsides and floodplains.
All right, Councilman Henderson, followed by Councilman Mitchell.
Move for approval.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. All right, thank you. Next, Madam Clerk.
A resolution authorizing the approval of change order number 1 for Hazen and Sawyer relative to contract number W17004-101, wet weather combined sewer storage, phase 1, a consent decree project for an increased amount of $469,396.25 for the revised contract amount of $2,052,396.25.
All right, Councilman Henderson.
Move for approval.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. Okay, next, please.
A resolution to name the 900 block of an unnamed road to the 200 block of Box Turtle Lane as referenced as case number 2018 PW001.
Councilman Henderson.
Mr. Chair, how can you not approve a road called Box Turtle Lane? I move for approval.
Applaud the creativity, sir. All right, I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. Next, please.
A resolution authorizing the approval of change order number 2 for Hazen and Sawyer relative to contract number W14006-101 Moccasin Bend WWTP Secondary Clarifier Upgrades, a consent decree supported project for an increased amount of $94,487.50 for the revised contract amount of $2,033,853.50.
All right, Councilman Mitchell.
Move approval.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. All right, next.
A resolution authorizing the approval of change order number 1 final for PF Moon and Company, Inc. of West Point, Georgia, relative to contract number W15018-201, rectangular sludge collection equipment at Moccasin Bend WWTP for a decreased amount of $73,016.75 to release a contingency in the amount of $395,750 for a revised contract amount of $3,884,462.93.
Councilman Henderson.
Move for approval.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. N, please.
A resolution to rename the Unit 100 and 200 blocks of Wahila Road to the Unit 100 and 200 blocks of Wahila Drive as referenced in case number 2018 PW003.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. Thank you. Oh, please.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Public Works to enter into an agreement with J.J. Keegan for golf course consulting services for a 6-month period unless extended by mutual agreement for an amount not to exceed $31,000.
Councilman Gilbert. All right, a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. P, please.
A resolution authorizing payment to Tennessee One Call System for 2019, utilizing the system for annual billing in the amount of $33,638.20.
All right, Councilman Henderson.
Move for approval.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. All right, Key, please.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Youth and Family Development to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Hamilton County Board of Education for Youth and Family Development and Human Resources Collaboration Training Services related to work-based learning at the Howard School.
All right. Councilwoman Coonrod, followed by Councilman Gilbert.
Thank you, Chair. Coach Jennings, will you come I'm so proud of this work here, if you'll just share with the community so they'll know the awesome things that's gonna take place here.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair.
Afternoon.
Yes, Councilwoman Coonrod, this particular memorandum of understanding with Hamilton County targeting, focusing on Howard School. The work-based learning program is a national program in many of our high schools around the country. Howard has a program that needs our support, and we were approached by the principal and with the support of what we've been trying to do to work with our schools, with the support of the mayor and Councilman Henderson helping us build those relationships. It has opened the door for us to serve in this capacity. And what's going to happen there, Beverly and I is working on this work-based learning initiative to help those high school students find career tracks throughout the city of Chattanooga and other employers that we'll be helping them with. So they'll be in school half a day, and we'll be helping them find placements half a day to help them identify what career tracks they may be interested in so they'll know how to pursue them. The other MOU, while I'm up talking about it, is going to be involving the Transition Academy. Howard has a group of students that is they don't have enough credits to graduate. They're too old for the regular population of students, and they have the Transition Academy that's meeting in the lower school where the middle school will be placed in the fall, and they need somewhere to house that Transition Academy. So we were approached and asked if we would be willing to partner with them and collaborate on that initiative. So Howard's Transition Academy will be housed in our South Chat YFD Center. So we continue to build those relationships with the schools, and they really are reaching out and asking us to help, particularly with the opportunity zones. They're very open to what we bring to the table and the services we can provide to help them move forward. So we're very excited about the opportunity. So I want to thank all of you all for your support and how you have helped us move forward in those initiatives, and we're excited about it.
Thank you so much, Coach, and thank you, Chip, for making that connection. And I move to approve.
Councilman Gilbert? Okay. Very good. Thank you, ma'am. We got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed is nay. Thank you. Next, please.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Youth and Family Development to enter into an interlocal lease agreement with Hamilton County Board of Education to use South Chattanooga YFD Center for 3 years for the Howard School Transition Academy classes.
All right, I've got Councilwoman Coonrod, followed by Councilman Gilbert.
Move to approve.
Second.
Councilman Byrd, good? All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. Thank you. That's the last of our items on our regular agenda, which takes us to purchases. Ms. Woodard? Oh, 1 second, please. Councilman Byrd.
Yes, sir. Before we go into purchasing, if it's possible and okay with the body, the young guy, the company from the rugby team that we renewed the 3 months for, he explained that he was going to come down when the situation came up, and he wanted to just read a brief paragraph, if it's possible, before we go into purchasing, or that, will we allow that to happen, or is that possible at this setting?
Let's do that at the end, if that's all right, sir.
Say again?
We'll do that at the end, if that's
At the end? Yes, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Woodard?
Good evening.
Good evening.
The first 6 purchases we have for your consideration tonight are on behalf of the Public Works Department. First, we have the purchase of an Elgin Broom Bear Street Sweeper to be purchased from Sansom Equipment Company, Inc. in a total amount of $275,125. Next, we have the blanket contract renewal for the Elgin Street Sweeper and Vector Sewer Cleaner OEM parts and service, which will be awarded to Sansom Equipment Company, Inc. in an estimated annual amount of $25,000. Next, we have the blanket contract renewal for industrial gases and welding supplies to be awarded to CNC Oxygen Company, Inc. in a total estimated annual amount of $60,000. Next, we have a blanket contract renewal for vehicle oils, lubricants, and fluids to be awarded to Hunter Oil Company, Inc. in an estimated annual amount of $150,000. Next, we have a blanket contract renewal for sewer line cleaning services to be awarded to Sanitec Jetback Services in an estimated annual amount of $1.5 million. Next, a blanket contract renewal for CCTV parts and repair service to be awarded to Q's Inc. in an estimated annual amount of $40,000. And finally, on behalf of the Transportation Department, we have a new blanket contract for traffic signal LED inserts to be awarded to General Traffic Equipment Corporation in an estimated annual amount of $38,000.
Thank you, ma'am. What's the pleasure of the council?
Move for approval.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed is nay. Thank you, Ms. Woodard.
Thank you.
All right, that takes us to other business. Is there anybody on the council with other business to discuss? Now, Councilman.
All right, thank you, sir. I have two things to discuss. First, I would like to invite everyone out this Saturday to Christmas in District 8. We're going to do a Christmas give back to the community and just try to love on some people and have a good time and fellowship with some community members. We've had over 238 applications turned in from kids that are just, you know, and parents that are needing something for Christmas. We also did a campaign, 20 bikes in 6 days, and the thanks to God and thanks to the community, we were able to raise the money to get kids gifts, and we're able to raise the bikes so these 20 individual kids can get a bike this Christmas. And I just want to thank my crew, Mallory, Miss Carlita, and Kevin for helping out when it came to this, because now we're going to be able to make this happen for some very special people in District 8. And we're also serving 30 seniors. We're going to give the 30 seniors different gift bags and food. So if you all can come out this Saturday between the times of 1 and 4, Christmas in District 8 at Carver Rec Center, we would greatly appreciate it. And the other point of business is we have a young man here from the rugby team that used the facilities out at Montague Park, and I didn't see him in the audience when the time came up. And if it's okay with the body, could he address us at this time?
Yes, sir.
Come up, sir, please.
Thank you, Council. I'm Jack Head. I'm currently the treasurer of the club. I've been with them about 29 years now. I'll be as brief as possible. Regards to last week's City Council agenda, resolution was proposed to lease a portion of Montague Park for a period of 3 months ending March 31st, 2019 to the Chattanooga Rugby Club with no renewal. A representative then spoke that a request for proposal would be issued around the same time to develop the park for economic benefit. While no specifics were presented, the RFP did allude to the fact that new jobs would be created. In looking at the original deed to Montague Park, Section 2 states, "This deed of gift is for the public welfare for park purposes, and in the event the said property shall at any time part from the ownership of said city of Chattanooga and the free use and benefit of its inhabitants thereof, the same shall revert to me or my heirs." And this would be the Montague family. From our understanding, when the Montague family gifted the property to the city, it was restricted to public recreation in perpetuity, and if this were rescinded, the property would revert back to the Montague family or successors. Without knowing the full details of the upcoming RFP, it would seem that the covenants of the deed are in conflict with the mentioned economic benefits unless the RFP is to build a new park that would still be for the free use and benefit of city inhabitants. In addition to this, there exists a land use restriction issued by the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation. When the club approached the city about remediating property to build fields for not only rugby, but for any activity that might use the park, we were told since it was a public park, the city was obligated to let others use it. We were also told that since in the past, federal and state grants had been used to create and maintain the park, if the property were to be repurposed at any time, then the city, as a form of mitigation, would be obliged to create a new space to replace what had been taken. Lastly, after 2003, Montague Park was closed due to neglect of the dirt cap that covers a landfill. A representative TDEC that was personally known to our club member Steve Lofty suggested it would be a good fit for rugby fields. Mr. Lofty then met with Mayor Littlefield and the Parks and Rec Department to finalize the details to remediate the property. At his expense and on behalf of the club, several hundred thousands of dollars were donated to get the land back in compliance. To the members of the council, the club respectfully requests that the resolution terminating the organization's use of the property after March 31st, 2009, with no renewal be withdrawn. Based on the original Montague deed, in accordance with the intended use of the property, the club would like to request a new lease agreement similar in nature to the extension granted to the sculpture park. When the club organizes the 501c, one of our missions was to improve Chattanooga through rugby. We have donated our time to several schools and rec centers over the past years, and it was our hopes that having a permanent home at Montague Park would enable us to introduce rugby to inner city youth. There is an excellent program that the city of Memphis started that we would like to model our outreach after. The club has been grateful to the city for Montague Park and hope to continue this relationship. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good, Councilman.
And thank you, body.
Thank you. Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to give a shout out to my daughter, Alexis Nolan. I call her Nuki. But she took 17 hours at Austin P this semester and also working a full-time job. And so she finished up this semester really well. And I'm highlighting her because we have so many young people that travel down the wrong path. And so this is someone that I care deeply about, not just because she's my daughter, but because she's just an awesome individual altogether. So I wanted to share that information with you guys tonight.
Thank you, Councilwoman. All right, seeing no further lights, that takes us to committee reports. Councilman Byrd. Go ahead.
I pushed it. Okay, thank you. We had an update on a pilot that was coming forth, and it came forth today, and also had a presentation of a homelessness plan that will be presented to us today through the staff. That was very amazing, and I just want to thank them for that and being on board with that. So thank you very much.
All right. Councilwoman Coonrod. Thank you. Councilman Gilbert. No report. Councilman Henderson. No report. Councilman Mitchell.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we will have a Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting on January 8th, as well as a Planning and Zoning Committee meeting. Councilman Ledford will hopefully be there.
Thank you, sir.
No report.
Councilman Oglesby. All right. Thank you. All right. We have now reached the point in our agenda of recognition of persons wishing to address the council on non-agenda items. Is there anybody here this evening that would like to address the council? Yes? All right, just a moment, ma'am. Just one moment. Mr. Attorney?
Yes. This body has adopted rules of procedure regarding anyone coming to speak in front of it on here, and the chair has the direction of this meeting here to establish what the rules of order are, and they have done that in rules that have been adopted by the group. The chairperson has the authority under those rules to set up rules of procedure and to govern this meeting in accordance with Robert's Rules of Order, which has been done. And in requirements here, no one other than a council member can address the council at any point in time except with the permission of the chair. So that's the purpose for this portion of the meeting. In the event that there is any disturbance or disorderly conduct that occurs in the council chambers, the chair has the power under the rules adopted by the council to order a meeting cleared or have people removed. So just trying to make sure at least y'all are aware of the rules that are in there. The rules that are adopted by the council at this point in time provide for a recognition of people on non-agenda matters, so it's something that wouldn't be on the agenda for the evening. And anybody wanting to talk comes to the microphone to be recognized at the microphone for that purpose, not from elsewhere in the chamber. You can address the council upon matters within their legislative and quasi-judicial authority. Limit your remarks to 5 minutes unless additional time is provided. Don't use any vulgar or obscene language from the podium here, and don't use the floor to attack folks or personally denigrate others, and address the council as a body, not individuals here. And you can't speak more than 2 times in a 30-day time period. And I think you're fine, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good evening, Chattanooga City Council members. My name is Tiffany Howard. I am a resident of Conyers, Georgia, and I'm addressing you today to bring awareness to a recent incident I was involved in on October 14th, 2018, with 2 Chattanooga police officers and 1 paramedic, in which after I called 911 for emergency assistance, the officers blatantly refused me medical care, intimidated and humiliated me, and later assaulted me through use of force, in which I sustained injuries of a broken rib and nerve damage to my left hand, on top of the pre-existing illnesses and disabilities that I have. In their haste to undermine my rights and inflict unnecessary harm to me, they made a very grave security error that could have potentially put other officers' lives at risk and create another tragic incident in an already turbulent time for daily violence the public and law enforcement officers are being subjected to today. During this incident, they intentionally hurt me while simultaneously endangering the lives of their partners while taking me into custody under the auspices I was mentally incompetent by abusing a good Tennessee law which permits officers to determine and detain a person against their will when they are a danger to themselves and others. I have provided details of my account in my complaint filed with Internal Affairs. I have more evidence to provide and am seeking a full investigation and request open records evidence elements that will prove what happened. These elements of this case that should include the 911 call and body cam and so forth and so on. We also need to examine the gross incompetence of these officers. When I was taken into custody, I had my purse with me in the back of the police car, shackled with my hands behind my back. I was able to get my phone and text message my family and friends for help. But what if I was armed? If I was truly a danger to others, I could have easily taken a weapon from my purse and killed the officer driving the car from behind on the way to Erlanger Hospital. In addition to the fact that it took a psychiatric doctor all of 15 minutes to assess that I was not a danger to myself or others, and finally offered me medical treatment. My injuries are costly and ongoing. My reputation and mental fitness are in question here, and I will not stand idly by and not seek restoration. These officials are also in direct violation and insubordination of the expectations and orders of their Chattanooga Police Chief, David Roddy, who has expert knowledge of law enforcement and training, thus undermining his strategies to serve and protect while maintaining public trust and confidence. In all fairness, I want to say that after seeing Chief Roddy address the Council of Use of Force and underlining elements, he understands and conveys all the aspects of use of force, physical reactions and dangers, perception, de-escalation, body and dash cam regulations and expectations, and he has trained these two officers very well. And to go a step further, the chief has appealed to the public for more minority applicants to join the force to close the ethnicity disparities in the department. This guy's not clueless. He gets it. He is connected to what's going on. And when these two officers disregard his orders, it's disrespectful to him and making him look incompetent. Actions like this cripple the honor of the badge, and not all officers are corrupt. They risk their lives to protect us from criminal mayhem we don't see up close. Some of his officers are going against the grain. They're going directly against his leadership. The miraculous stories about good officers are always far and in between because these incidents of corruption are loud and true and too prominent. And in an emergency, who can you call if the paramedics and police won't help you? Not to mention the waste of taxpayers' dollars to provide these resources to the public and how this escalated debacle was unnecessarily costly to them. I came to Chattanooga on a vacation to bring revenue. These two officers and one paramedic's actions scared the public from coming here and undermined fiscal support for this city that could bring revenue to city services and resources. It's bringing a bad reputation to the character of this city, and it's undermining the council's good work. I want to sincerely thank journalist Marie Mott of Nooga 92.7 for supporting me, taking this case seriously and making sure the public is aware of the numerous acts of improprieties being inflicted on the public by some of the officers in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I want to thank you for taking the time to hear me today. Have a blessed and Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Ms. Howard. Please.
As I have walked among the desperate, rejected, and angry young men, I have told them that Molotov cocktails and rifles will not solve their problems. I've tried to offer them my deepest compassion while maintaining my convictions on social change, which comes most meaningfully through nonviolent action. But they ask, and rightly so, what about Vietnam? They ask if our own nation wasn't using massive doses of violence to solve its problems, to bring about the changes it wanted. Their questions hit home, and I knew that I could never again raise my voice against the violence of the oppressed in the ghettos without having first spoken clearly to the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today, my own American government. A time to break silence, April 4th, 1967, for the man that you guys are going to fake celebrate in a couple of weeks, who was assassinated for his beliefs, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This council last week prepared a statement hastily, I assume because of the rising up of the people, and that's always scary to government when people rise up because they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And what they stated is often what happens within government and bureaucracy is a passing of the buck and responsibility. This is not within my jurisdiction. This is not my responsibility. Go somewhere else and get justice. And the problem that I have with that is, even though this one action may not have necessarily been within the scope of this council or even our mayor, who's nowhere to be found, but what about Avery Gray? Did she not stand before this council after her daughter was dragged out of her own vehicle in front of the courthouse right around the corner? And this body, this legislative body, which has the power to impact from a legislative measure, did nothing. And our mayor, who has the power to impact from an executive measure, did nothing. Did not Jesse Parker, who had his house ran in without a warrant with the assistance of the Chattanooga Police Department, come and stand before this body and speak and tell that him and his 6 grandchildren and his daughter and his son-in-law had guns and rifles pointed at him and stood in the freezing cold with no shoes, and he told you himself what happened? And was there a legislative or an executive measure that was done about what has happened? What about Officer Desmond Logan that raped young women, allegedly? And we found out just a week or 2 ago that not only did he do that with the badge, but he did that at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, so I guess we're not safe in college either. What about Officer Craig Joel and Officer Trumbo of the Chattanooga Police Department, who were drinking on the job, and they got the ability to resign without any sort of responsibility or accountability for their actions? They get to resign, possibly get to continue to have pension power and go get to be a police officer somewhere else. Now, we have a particular council member that is over public safety, which during committee reports and other business never has anything to say about these issues. And this body has continued to hear person after person, even the person before me, express what is happening within the Chattanooga Police Department, and yet our executive and legislative branch does nothing. My dear people, each and every one of you, whether you like me or not, whether you like everybody in your district or not, whether you like the people who voted for you or not, you're here. And you're here because God willed you to be here. And he didn't send you here to do what you want to do. He sent you here to do what the people will for you. And when you speak, you don't speak with what you want to say. You petition the people. What would you have me say? There is no leader without the faith of the people in the leader. That is what makes a leader, not a self-appointment or a name badge. What makes you a leader is the fact that people have faith in you. And are people not losing faith if they riot? You guys turned your back on us, and that is the most disgusting thing this body could ever do. Why is it as an African-American, people always see our anger, but never take the time to understand our pain? And as a young person, I have petitioned this body, whether the room was full or whether it was almost empty, asking the same thing for months, for men and women 2 and 3 times my age to wake up and to do what is right. Do what is right.
Thank you, Ms. Mom. Is there anybody else here this evening who would like to address the council? We are adjourned.